We want our men to exhibit masculine traits because when they don't, they behave in a way that has been labeled toxic masculinity, but is actually just the manifestation of a lack of masculinity. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lunch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Let's party, guys. It is another episode of It's Complicated. You know what it is. Let's get into it.
Oh, man. Okay, so there is a big red pill craze going on, especially with the whole Andrew Tate thing. And with women, there is a big difference. And basically, these red pill guys, they are trying to teach men that men are superior, men are the alphas.
Would you be able to take her voice? I know that that's not her fault, but I just can't take it.
Men should walk around with a sword, and women should do what they say and cook their dinner, and that's how it is. And you should be their first. You should be their first experiences. And I say, fuck all that shit. For women, I think women need to really get in touch with their feminine power, and they need to realize that they are in control.
Feminine power meaning what? Their feminine side? Their feminine traits? What are we talking about there? Because we could either be completely in agreement or on completely opposite sides.
They're the ones that make the decisions, and this is like when they're in a relationship and even before in dating. Like, I think now with Tinder and Bumble and all these other dating apps that it feels like it's just normal to you meet a guy and then you have sex with him on the first date. And it's like, ladies, dinner is not enough. Like, let this guy work for you, or give this guy, like, make him earn it. You know, he needs to do something, whether it's financial, whether it's effort more than just a dinner, because it's like that. This is what's going on with a lot of my girlfriends.
There you go, ladies. That's good advice. Be a little bit more discerning. That's all. Just be a little bit more discerning.
It's been said that men have a burden of performance that women don't. Who assigns them that burden, and isn't that the problem right there?
Men do. They compete with each other.
I guess it's society kind of that assigns that burden, or maybe they do it to themselves.
Well, I mean, we kind of do have a burden to perform because there's more competition with men.
Women, men, they love women. Women can never do wrong. Men do and should work harder, because if you are going to get in a relationship, whether it's long-term, short-term, you have to provide.
That's interesting, because she's saying men do, but also men should. And I think I agree with that.
You have to be a provider. You have to be ready for that next step.
Why is the man's provider gender role more demanding than the woman's was, is, or ever will be?
Because I think women have less defined roles in society nowadays. I think they could kind of float and do whatever they want, but a man is expected to be a provider economically. That's pretty much the difference. Is women have, the choice. They could kind of be the house mom and do that type of thing, or they could do it for themselves and provide for themselves. A man that doesn't work and doesn't provide or doesn't have a family doesn't have much value in today's society.
Loser.
Is the pressure greater on men to be successful or on women to be beautiful?
They expect women to be beautiful.
Of course you would say that. Of course you would say that. All you have to be is not like homely and unkempt. Nobody is hating on women for being average. But to be a guy who's an average guy in terms of what he's accomplished is the worst thing in the world. What are you talking about?
Throughout their life.
I would say men to be successful, because I feel like now we've kind of moved over to society saying like every woman is beautiful.
Yup.
So I think there's more of a pressure for men to be successful and be the provider of the household.
I don't know. I think I might say women to be beautiful, just because I think that, like, if I were to go out and like meet a guy, I mean, my assumption and my experience is that he would have to think I'm beautiful for me even to find out if he's successful.
Yes, but that's only in the context of dating. That's only in the context of dating. You are still living a life that, you seem pretty happy, and I don't want to be mean, but you're certainly not a 10. I'm not saying you're ugly. I'm just saying you're certainly not a 10. So the burden to be, at the top of the hierarchy is nowhere near the same. Nowhere near. Now, I understand you may feel that way, but that's only because you've never been a man.
The average man's salary in the U.S. is $40,000. The average woman in the U.S. weighs 170 pounds. Why is there a fat acceptance movement for women, but there's no broke acceptance movement for men?
Whoa, man, that's deep. That's deep. And they're just as unattractive features. As much as a low-income man is unattractive to women, overweight women are unattractive to a large swath of the male population.
But it doesn't matter because women can do no wrong. Women can do no wrong. Because women spend all of the money in society, then nobody wants to offend women. So the governments, the corporations, the whole establishment is catered for women.
I think, a lot of us have to settle for what's out there. Not myself, but
We're expected as men to kind of like settle for a woman as she is. Why don't women typically settle for a man as he is?
I don't think
Because we're special and I'm a queen and you should be up to my standards.
there's a correlation. I think like women can be beautiful no matter what shape or size they come in, but I don't think men that don't have money are being like discriminated against.
Why don't women have a burden of performance to become better partners if they don't want to be viewed as a mere sexual object?
That's a good question. I think that's it needs to be. Women need to be more held accountable if they want to be viewed as being equal. They should have just as much responsibility and if they want to have the say so, they need to have the responsibility and do half the work.
There you go. We're getting some sense in here.
because I do think that there's a level of hypocrisy in my gender. Unfortunately.
Like, what do you
All right, at least she's honest. Her friend has no idea what she's talking about, but maybe she's going to school her friend.
mean?
In women, I do think that we want it all, but we don't necessarily want to have to like admit any sort of change that needs to happen on our behalf. I mean,
And that's, hey, look, nobody's perfect, and we are all products of our environment. So as long as you have some self-awareness, as long as you're trying to do something a little bit better, then I'll give you credit for that.
I probably need to change, but
There
How
you
do
go.
we fix that?
give it 100 years.
Well, doesn't that mean that a lot of women are going to die lonely cat ladies?
They could. I mean,
I might.
Yup.
Who cares more about masculinity, men or women?
I would say women,
Are men conditioned by other men to act a certain way?
100%.
Yes, 110%. I think it's a big contest.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. He asked that in the last episode. Who cares more about masculinity, men or women? And I'm not really sure. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.
Sometimes between men, and they try to act like it's for women, but really they're pitting themselves against each other.
Are women conditioned by other women to act a certain way?
I don't think so. Not as
Yes.
much.
Oh, homie. The social conditioning on how to act is way stronger in women than it is in men. Like, if your homeboy is into anime and you think that's the stupidest thing ever, then whatever, you guys are still going to be friends. But like, I mean, I don't have a great comparison for women, but they definitely, because they are so focused on beauty all the time, the social cohesion that needs to exist among a friend group of women is way stronger. Whereas dudes can just get along on very minimal basis. Like, as long as you're cool to get along with, that's about it. That's all men really care about.
I wouldn't say conditioned, but definitely cheered on.
That's another word for conditioned.
Does a man have the right to define what a woman is?
No,
So then what gives women the
Yes.
right to define what a real man is?
they don't. But at the same time, it might help a man get what they want from a woman.
If we're talking about
It might help a man get what they want from a woman. So the idea of a woman saying, this is what a real man is just instructions on how to manipulate you and act the way that I need to act outside of myself to get what I want. That's what happens when you normalize the conversation of what it means to be a real man.
They have the right to define what a real man is.
that's a very common used term of women. Yeah, I think because it's kind of
It
like
is.
a dig on men to,
It is
like
a
we were
dig
talking
on
about
you.
masculinity. It's kind of like a dig to make a man feel less than, to say he's not a man or whatever, or he's not. And the same connotation really doesn't work with women. You don't tell a woman if she can't cook or clean or do any of the traditional womanly roles or take care of kids. You don't tell her that she's not a woman. So it is like a double standard for sure.
I mean, she's not a woman. You know what I mean?
Who gets to decide what a man should or should not be?
Good
The
question.
man.
The man himself gets to decide what he wants to be or what he doesn't want to be for his own self, but not for
That's another one, guys. Who gets to determine what a real man is? I don't know.
For anyone else.
Who gets to decide what a man should or should not be?
The Bible.
Who is more
I mean, that's an internally logical answer. If you believe in the Bible, then that makes sense. I obviously don't, as a raging atheist, but that makes sense to me. But outside of a religious context, it is tough to say where does that come from?
more attractive, liberal or conservative men, and why?
Unfortunately, I would say
Conservative.
conservative. I would say conservative as well.
Well, we're going to disagree.
We're definitely going to disagree.
Conservative, definitely.
Liberal, because I like a man who supports women and supports a lot of things that conservative men just don't.
And I like a manly man, and I like the blue-collared, hard-working man.
I would say that conservative men tend to adopt the traditional idea of what a man is. So they're strong and they're,
Liberal men, they usually have a more open mind, I think.
And I think they actually
do. They though? They have an open mind to the things that you want to tell them. Do they have an open mind to ideas that may not go along with what they already think? Probably not.
actually care about people more.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Republicans care about money, and liberal men are definitely more progressive and open-minded and just better in general, in my opinion.
This is why we know that the left thinks the right is evil, and the right knows that the left is misinformed, underinformed, whatever you want to say. Because we know what they think. They have no idea what it is that we think, how we operate, anything like that.
What's the difference between feminist women shaming men for being men and traditional women shaming men for not being real men?
Nothing.
Tradcons are undercover feminists.
Wouldn't that equate modern misandry to feminism and traditional misandry to chivalry?
Yes.
Don't both place women at a status above men?
Feminism is a woman supremacy movement.
What are your thoughts on
There
that?
you go. Feminism is a women's supremacy movement. It absolutely is. Absolutely.
Following statement. Women are born with value, men have to create their value.
Yup.
I agree with it.
You agree with it? Okay.
I do agree with it.
It's true.
What if I told you some races are born with value, others have to create their value? Would that be okay?
It's true. I don't know if it's okay.
How was that
Going out on a limb saying, I don't know if it's okay, but I'm going to be straight up with you.
not bigotry?
It is.
Why is saying men have to create their value not sexist?
It is sexist.
Are men typically born with the muscles, money, and status that attract most women?
No.
Nope.
If men are more likely to work for their value, don't they deserve more respect for that?
Absolutely.
If men have to accept that they need to work harder in the dating market, why can't women accept that they need to work harder in the job market?
I think men opted out.
I mean,
that was a non-answer, but that was an amazing question. That was an amazing question. If men have to work harder in relationships, then why shouldn't women have to work harder in the workplace? Why shouldn't you have a harder time? That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
personally, I don't agree with that. In societal terms, you're probably right. It's like because we touched on
What
the
does that
economic
mean?
issue, and a woman could easily not have money and just meet a rich man if she's gorgeous. And yeah, I get the point of that. But me personally, I would never buy too much into just looks.
What?
There's more to people than that.
What if I told you that some races are born with value, other races have to create their value? Would that be okay?
No, it's not okay. It's not true. The individual creates his value every day by his actions.
Certain races are more valuable than the other. It's definitely true that happens, and that's a big part of racism. And
Whoa! I don't know if it's the way that it was edited, but she seemed to be making the claim that certain races, as she said, are better than others. I don't know if that was edited to say that she was reiterating the question or something, but wow, okay, she believes some races are inherently better than others.
a lot of the issues that we still face today and have not overcame yet.
So then why would it not be a problem when that applies to men? Because men aren't typically born with the muscles, money, and status that attract most women. So that's basically saying that men aren't valuable until they achieve those things.
Did I say that beforehand? I don't agree with
Yes.
that. I think that everyone is valuable in their own ways, and regardless of your social status or your gender identity or your sexual orientation or whatever. But no.
Okay, I think she misspoke. I don't think she was saying that some races are inherently better. That would be wild if she was just like casually throwing that out there.
I don't think the material things that you own or have access to define your value as a person.
So then why is saying men have to create their value not sexist?
It is sexist, you know. But like we were saying earlier, it's not just
the world is sexist. Life is not fair. Get used to it.
Women that hold men to that standard, it's other men.
It's not sexist because there is an expectance from men when you get in a relationship. Women, we focus on an ideal man, we need a provider.
Preach.
Because if we end up in a situation carrying your child or anything other of that sort, you need to be
Like what? A child or anything else? What else would you be carrying? What, an STD? Is that what you're talking about?
able to provide. So that's why men do need to create value.
Does a woman provide children for every man she dates?
No.
So until that woman is having that man's kids, why does he need to provide anything?
Because if he wants the perks of being in a relationship where she has options, she doesn't have to be with you, she's just choosing to be with you.
How do you what? That's not true of every situation. In fact, the numbers show that most relationships are based on the guy having more power because women are looking at only the top tier men, whereas and so the guy has all the options. But that completely doesn't answer the question that if the woman's role is to give children and the man's role is to protect, why is it that she doesn't have to fulfill her role, but he still has to fulfill his role? Notice how she spun away from it.
So basically, would that mean that in order for a man to get the perks, aka sexual access, he basically has to submit to the woman's terms?
I do think it is a two-way street because she has to play her part to earn his value.
Not to mention that sex, by the way, is not just for the man. Like, yes, men have a higher sex drive. Men care more about having sex. But it's not like you're just doing a favor. I mean, you might be. I don't know your life. But the idea is that if you're having sex with somebody, that you enjoy having sex with that person.
But it shouldn't be accepted that, oh, he just expects his sexual favors just for being him.
Why not?
Are women doing men a favor by giving them sex?
No. I mean, yes and no.
See, that's where her mind is. She thinks that having sex with somebody that she likes and she wants to have sex with is a favor to him.
That's a hard one, actually.
No, it's not.
What's the difference between a woman telling a man, I'm not your property, and a man telling a woman, I'm not your provider?
There's really no difference.
I was not ready for these questions. I honestly, I feel like it's the same thing. I do. I feel like it's the same thing. As women, we look at men as providers, and as men, sometimes they can be very possessive and very dominant. And from that standpoint, that's just how it happens. I don't know why exactly.
Why should a man have responsibility without authority?
I was not ready for these questions.
Well, in other words, why should a man have responsibility without authority?
Over who?
In other
The
words,
girl, what you
if
mean?
a woman expects a man to provide, doesn't he have the right to set down some ground rules?
Of course.
So then wouldn't that mean that she's his property in a sense?
No, not at all.
So how would you clarify that?
Well, I think in a relationship, there's always compromise that's going to need to happen. So if there's a prearranged agreement that a man is going to provide, that's an agreement that needs to be made between the two of them, and that by no means makes the woman his property whatsoever.
Well, in other words, like a lot of women might feel like the guy's being controlling if he says, hey, I don't want you going out dressed like that. I'm trying to look out for your well-being. Or your
Yeah,
safety.
no, that's not okay.
So then would it be okay for a woman to expect a man to be responsible for, for her?
Not necessarily. I mean, just because you're like paying bills doesn't mean you can tell someone like what they can and can't wear.
I don't know. I don't mind being property at this point.
There's always going to
She's a winner.
be a level of misogyny that comes with masculinity. It's a double-edged sword. I think women kind of understand that dynamic, and you see with Andrew Tates and these type of guys that are labeled as misogynists, they still have no shortage of female suitors that are totally into that would rather be in a submissive state and be dominated by a very masculine personality.
Facts.
Is giving birth more of a privilege or burden for women?
Burden.
It's both.
Privilege.
Because it messes your body a little bit, but on another level, you're bringing another human being into the world.
Again, what do you guys think about that one? Being able to give birth, is that a privilege or a burden? Let me know.
I think it's a blessing. It is a privilege. It's a blessing. some women think it's a burden because they're selfish about their own bodies.
Yup.
That's all I feel, because I think it's a blessing. Every child is a blessing. I got 2 of them.
Is providing for a family more of a privilege or burden for men?
You could argue it's both.
Every man.
See, how come she has nuance when it comes to anything not to do with herself? But when it comes to my body, as this guy just said, women are selfish about their own bodies. And yes, sure, you could say that being able to give birth could be a burden and also a privilege in the sense that, it does a lot to your body and so on and so forth. But she didn't say that. She didn't say that. It wasn't until it came to providing for a family that she has any sort of nuance. When it comes to thinking about themselves, they have their ideas and they are what they are, and you can either agree with it or you can't handle me.
Man should be proud to take care of your family, no matter what. I'll drop everything to do it. I'll give everything to do it. I'll give my own soul, just like Jesus did.
How likely are men to leave if their wife can't bear children?
They do.
No, I don't think it's likely. Most men don't even want kids.
That is absolutely false. Most men do want kids.
I think that most men that want children, at least in my experience, they'd be fine with adopting or any of the in vitro, things like that.
How likely are women to stay if their man can't provide?
They don't.
Yeah, I don't know too many that want to stay.
Okay, so then wouldn't providing for a family be more of a burden for a man?
No, not really.
Well, I mean, it's a responsibility. If he doesn't meet that responsibility, she's going to leave, right?
Got him! You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. If one is a deal breaker and the other is not, then one is a burden and the other is not.
Is she obligated to leave? She can leave if she feel like he's not going to provide.
That
I don't think
was
it's
not
a
the
burden.
question.
How does being masculine help men who are screwed over by the family court system?
Oh man, wow, that's great. I don't think it helps at all. I think if you're too masculine, you're seen as obtrusive and aggressive and all these negative traits that are actually scary traits or would make you look like an abuser or make less trustworthy with the child and all these things. So yeah, it's actually bad to be super masculine when it comes to the court system.
It doesn't help them at all. There's nothing they could do for it to help them.
And of course, the background to this question being that we want our men to be masculine. We want our men to exhibit masculine traits because when they don't, they behave in a way that has been labeled toxic masculinity, but is actually just the manifestation of a lack of masculinity.
How does being masculine help men who are falsely accused?
It doesn't.
Nope.
Whether a man is masculine or not, doesn't he still deserve equal justice?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, especially when it comes to his children.
So why is there so much talk about masculinity rather than men's rights?
I would argue there is talk about it. It just doesn't hit the mainstream media.
Yeah, that's kind of what the point of the question was.
Why do women often attack a man's masculinity when they don't get what they want?
Why is it that women say the man is gay when they reject them?
Because I think that's the heart of their ego. I would say that looks are the heart of women's ego.
Why are women so welcoming of the gay
fair enough.
community, yet so quick to shame a man as gay when they don't get what they want?
Because of sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, and what? The need to be right. The need to be right. No matter what it is, they will use shame, insults, and guilt, but they have to be right. So it doesn't matter if they contradict themselves because they are never wrong. They are strong and independent queens, and you can't do anything about it.
That's a fantastic double standard. Yeah, that's true.
It's not that they don't get what they want. It's that they're rejected and they cannot even fathom the thought that maybe they're just not attractive to the guy.
Again, that's just the easiest way to attack a man's pride is, say he's gay or imply that he's weak or any of those type of things. Make him feel less than. He's not good enough for you.
It's often said life isn't fair. Who is more likely to be expected to accept injustice, men or women?
Men.
I think that's an easy one. Men.
Okay, I tried to pause it before she answered, and I was hoping she was going to say men. I was going to flip out if she said women. Okay, all right, she said men.
If it's not men, why do we have the expression take it like a man?
Because men are statistically and just biologically more strong than women.
So men are just expected to take abuse?
No, but biologically, men are stronger than women.
That's a great... all you did was repeat yourself. So because we're stronger, we deserve more abuse? That's your logic? Get out of here.
They already have the Duluth model, which automatically presumes that the man is guilty when the police show up.
Because men are supposed to take a lot of shit and handle it and be hard and strong.
Yep.
And that's what's accepted of a man. And if you don't do that, then you're considered weak.
You are weak. You are weak. Another great episode of It's Complicated. You guys know I'm not going to drop any insightful knowledge here, but it's always fun to check them out. What did you think of it? Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Check me out live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, guys, thank you so much for partying with me. I'm your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.